Hey y'all, so if you are not subscribed to my channel, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and jump right to this into this story. So the House just recently passed a bill, HR 4350, which is a military appropriations bill. But this military appropriations bill not only includes red flag laws, okay? But 135 Republicans voted for this military appropriations bill, including Dan Crenshaw from Texas and Madison Cawthorn of North Carolina. So let's go ahead and take a look at the bill and the part of the bill that is very questionable, and we are going to talk about that. Okay, so as you see here, this talks about some of the rights, the laws and bylaws for military personnel. And if you go down here to where it says restrictions of access to firearms, it says in general, notwithstanding any other provision of law, a military court protective order issued on an ex parte basis shall restrain a person from possessing, receiving, or otherwise accessing a firearm. Ex parte meaning that this can be decided with only a court judge and the person and not requiring every party to be present for this to happen. So basically, a judge can make a court order and say, hey, we're going to confiscate this military personnel's firearms. And not only do you not have to have due process, but you could not be in court. You could literally not be there and the judge just sign off on this, okay? Now, a couple of reasons why this is problematic is, first of all, you will see that this bill is 1,362 pages long. So what happens often is that you will have these bills that are like several pages long and they will hide little things in there, okay? The most relevant example that I've used of this is you will often hear Bernie talking about how he previously voted for the crime bill, and not because he was particularly so in favor for the crime bill, but because of a provision in there that was for the protection of women. He voted yes on this, okay? And then years later, people are asking him, why'd you vote for this bill? So that's kind of like a more relevant, up-to-date example that I usually give of that. Okay, so that's the first problem, is how they will hide these little pieces into these bills. The next problem is this false belief that all Republicans are against gun control and against gun confiscations. That is absolutely just not the truth and not the case, okay? More notably, you have Dan Crenshaw is someone that has been for and supported red flag laws. And then you also had Trump, who has been noted saying, take the guns first, handle the courts later, or due process later. Now, why red flag laws, gun confiscations, and the lack of due process is problematic is because, first of all, it leaves too much room for discrimination. Okay, it goes against your constitutional rights, like the Second Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. Okay, and then also the fact that I mean, you just you haven't received due process. You don't have a jury. You haven't went through the process to say that you are guilty of anything. But just because a judge says, oh, well, we have suspicions that this person has done this, we haven't taken the time to prove it. We haven't taken the time to even go to them, go through the court process yet, but we're going to take their self-protection on the front end, okay, is very problematic and questionable. And so, if you can have a person like Cory Booker who can scrap a whole bill, the George Floyd Act, and say, hey, I'm over it. I don't really want to work on this anymore because of this one Republican that's standing in my way and is not allowing this provision, this part in the bill that I want in the bill, then I don't want to sign off on this. I'm not okay with this. If you can have something like that happen, then most certainly you can have this happen in the reverse. So why people would sign off of, I don't believe it's any excuses to sign off on something, agree with something, vote yes on something that you don't feel like consistently yes all the way through. Will there have to be some compromises when you're working across the aisle in Congress? Sure. But I don't think there should be compromises when it comes to things that have already been established as our human, civil, and constitutional rights. So wanted to let y'all know what's going on with this. Also, not to mention is once you implement this, for something like the military, who's to say that we aren't one step closer to implementing this for everyday citizens? Okay. Not only that, it kind of makes me a little curious about, what all the things we see going on globally, with knowing that eventually they are trying to take us in a direction with more and more gun control. Are you trying to maybe discourage or leaving a little room to target some of the people that would actually have the skills and the training and can maybe be a threat, okay, in the future as it relates to a government that's trying to get more and more authoritative? I don't know. We could assume so. So those are my thoughts. Leave your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.